All right, good evening. It is 5:30 on September 14th, 2022. I would like to call our Urbana Human Relations Commission's meeting to order. Tom, may we have a roll call, please?
Stacy Burnett,
Here.
Julie Robinson Schaefer,
Here.
Asako Kanazi Leggett,
Here.
Peter Resnick,
Here.
Greg Schroeder.
Here.
All right, we have a full house. Therefore, we have a quorum, so it is time to move to make a motion for approval of today's agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Pete, second by Greg. Any revisions needed to me? All right. No revisions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Moving on to approval of the minutes from August 25th, 2022. Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
A motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Asako and a second by Pete. Any revisions needed to be made? Adjustments?
There was one little one, and just simply clarification. And let me find it. It was in announcements. The last sentence says, subject of a formal appeal process, and I believe what I said, or at least what I should have said, is subject of a hearing. So,
So noted, thank you.
no problem.
All in favor for the change and approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to public participation. Looking out, we have one. Hi,
Really?
welcome.
Does not want to participate.
No participation. Right. Thank you for being here. All right. Okay, moving on to unfinished business, having none, seeing none, we're gonna move to new business, which is our EEO workforce statistics. And it looks like we have 12 on the table tonight, 3 are new. Is there a motion to make a recommendation?
So I scribbled down some numbers, so I will make a motion, and then I'll explain the motion in a bit. So I move to approve Barber and Diatley for 1 year, Deuce Construction for 1 year, Foyt's Contractors for 1 year, IOF Inc. for 2 years, Kinney Contractors for 1 year, Resource Management Associates for 2 years, Tyler Technologies for 1 year, and Visu Sewer Inc. for 2 years. And then I wanted to hold the others for discussion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Pete, second by Greg. Carla, was there anything that you needed to add?
I'll wait for the discussion.
Okay.
So on this motion, the three, let's see, the 1 years that I gave, Barber and Diatley had a change in population of 1, and they did check the working with labor organizations box. I know that we have renewed them twice in the past, and basically on the same premise. They're a relatively small business. That's what they have presented, and we still haven't addressed the labor organization issue. So my inclination was to give them another year, although I could be persuaded that we need more information. Their population increased by 1 this year. Their minority population did not change. They increased the number of women by 2, which is, I suppose, a good sign. So unless we want to ask them for more detailed information, that's where I was at. And the others, Deuce Construction, again, is the labor organization, same with Foyt's Contractors. Kinney Contractors, I believe, also was the same sort of issue. And Tyler Technologies, I don't have in front of me. But that was the purpose for that. If we want to move on and approve these, and then we can get back to the other four, I'm happy to do it that way, or whichever way someone wants to go.
I have one clarification, though.
Yeah.
So I guess, were you counting in the Visu Sewer Inc., also the Visu Sewer of Missouri?
No.
Okay.
Visu Missouri was the one I wanted to leave out, along with the three Carl ones.
Okay. Did I miss Resource Management Associates?
Resource Management, 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
Both Resource Management and, what was the other one, IOF, were less than 15 people. So,
Yep. Okay.
not much to base things on.
I did have a question about, is it Futs or Futs or?
Foyt's,
Foyt's?
I think so.
Foyt's? Okay.
Foyt's like A.J. Foyt with an S.
Yeah.
They said that they have full turnover every year. I was curious what that meant. And also, I thought it was interesting that they sent letters to the labor unions, and I was wondering what that signifies.
Go ahead if you.
In the application for the EEO, it says that you are notifying the labor union where you're receiving your, labor, that you are seeking applicants that are minority, women, veteran, that you're trying to diversify your work base. And so they're sending those letters to remind them that when we request workers, we would like for you to particularly send us those applicants.
So as far as the full overturn, because they've spoken to this before, I believe a lot of their work is seasonal. So what they do is, in effect, let everybody go at the end of the season. When they go to rehire, they go back to the union and say, we need this many people this season. So they're, in effect, their numbers would look very weird if they described how many let go, how many hired because of that. So they explained that at some point, because we had the same question a couple of years ago.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to?
We can do the other four if you want after the
Okay,
vote.
okay. All right, so we move to approve Deuce Construction for 1 year, IOF Inc. for 2, Foyt's for Contractors for 1, Kenny for 1, Visu Sewer Inc., Wisconsin for 2, Barber and Diatley for 1, Resource Management Associates for 2, and Tyler Technologies for 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries for those recommendations. Okay, now,
So,
go
if
ahead.
I may just describe why I didn't include the others in the motion. The 3 Carl applications were odd, and odd in the following sense. The overall numbers were not terrible compared to Champaign County workforce, but the number of Black and Hispanic employees is really low, and the number of Asian employees is really high compared with the county workforce numbers. And my sense was, and they also, Carl, in none of the 3 organizations associated with Carl, do they provide any particular affirmative action policy. I guess what I'm hoping is maybe we can get more information from them about whether they are doing particular outreach trying to change those numbers, and also what the explanation for the weird disparity in their particular workforce is, because I don't think we've seen one that looks like that before. So I'm wondering if it's possible to get more information before we do an approval. Because the numbers are not great, but they're not far off of anything else that we would have said 1 year, but the numbers are strange, and they don't mention an affirmative action policy.
Are you putting them on hold till next month?
That's what I was kind of hoping, and I can tell that this is going to cause someone some heartburn if we do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
but also it will probably inform
The next
another
decision,
next
that I
discussion.
understand
The
that.
next discussion.
So that was those three, and if someone wants to make an independent motion on those three, that we should approve them for some short period of time, I will not end up voting against, but my preference would be that we get more information. With regard to Visu Sewer of Missouri, their numbers were terrible. Unlike their main offices, which are located in a small town or a smaller town in Wisconsin, where the demographic numbers, they're doing great, Visu Sewer of Missouri is located in East St. Louis. And I have no explanation for those numbers, and I'd like to hear about good faith efforts and what's going on and why they have the numbers they are before we do any kind of approval of that one.
And I was curious, and maybe Carla has more information, why the overarching and then the Missouri was separate. Why is Visu Sewer Inc., I mean, are they are they separate contracts? Okay,
I think we may be running into the same issue that we had with the parent company and then the divisions.
and that's what I was trying to figure out, why the Missouri one wasn't included in the parent company.
Tom, can-
Besides the geographic obvious answer, I think the other answer is that it appears that they're doing different hiring processes.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
thank
But
you.
that's worth double
Yeah,
checking.
it was just an anomaly, so.
They're using the same information for both of them, so
Mhm.
my guess is one of them is the parent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so do we want to,
If someone wants to make a
Make
further
a motion,
motion,
or
but I
should we-
just wanted to explain, I'm sorry. If someone wants to make a further motion, but I just wanted to explain why I made the motion I did.
and that's understandable. Is there a project, what project is this for Carl?
This is our, I keep forgetting. Let's see, hold on a second. And the HR uses them for our occupational medicine and pre-employment physicals.
Okay, so, if we,
And EAP also. I would like to recommend 1 year with a letter. That's some of the things that you guys normally used to do, is to give them a 1-year certification with a letter of good, asking for the good faith effort plan. That would be a recommendation that I would put forth, but again,
okay. Seemingly, the Carl Foundation had been approved for 2 years previously. I don't see an issue, probably for 1 year for them, but the other two are new. So, does anyone else agree with 1 year, or should we do a 6 months with letter? I'm sorry.
I will make that motion. I was gonna say, I don't believe Carla can do so.
I
So-
would recommend it, but I can't
Yes,
make a
yes.
No.
So I will move Carl Healthcare Incorporated, Carl West Physician Group, and Carl Foundation Hospital for 1 year with a letter, and getting more information about the oddities in the numbers, as compared to the county percentages. And unless there is a urgent need for Visu Sewer of Missouri, I would request to hold and get more information. But if that is a time-sensitive contract, then we need to reconsider.
I sought additional information because I knew that would probably be a question, and I didn't receive any.
Okay.
All
So
right.
I move 1 year with letter for Carl Healthcare, Carl West Physician Group, Carl Foundation, and hold on Visu Sewer of Missouri.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Julie, second by Greg. 1 year for Carl Healthcare, 1 year for Carl West Physician, the Carl Foundation with letter, And Visu Sewer of Missouri, we will need more information before proceeding. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our second business, speaking of. It was brought to our attention by one of the commissioners, Commissioner Gregg, wanting some more information of reducing the occurrence of special meetings. And so I'll let Carla have the floor for that. Unless Greg wanted to elaborate on something.
Shorter, would you like to speak to that?
I will try to remember what you provide.
Well, I said to talk with Stacy about that, and you wanted to bring forward.
It showed up on the agenda, and I thought there was a discussion carried out.
So, the original question that you had expressed to us was that you would be interested in seeing about trying to keep special meetings to a minimum.
Yes.
And so, just to state that part of it, and then we can go forward from that, I think.
I was just saying, in order to have that
To
discussion.
have the
You
discussion?
would have to do that. I can't do that for you, so I shared it with Stacy.
So I've noticed over the last couple months that there's an increased frequency of emergency meetings. When I took this position, I was under the impression they were monthly, and it seems like at least every other month we're having 2. And so I was just hoping to have a discussion on what steps can be taken to reduce the need for emergency meetings, whether it's speaking with the city council or finding out what exceptions may be able to be pursued.
Well, I just know that after, COVID, it's with shortages. I know that things come up and projects have been delayed because of shortages. So now we're on a time crunch where there's a project that has a specific deadline to be met. So it would call for the special meetings to occur so that we can make sure that everything is staying on schedule. You want to elaborate too?
So I guess one question is, I know some time ago, we tried to have a discussion with city departments about getting these things to us so that there were a couple of months lead time just in case. Now, I know that sometimes doesn't happen, but getting these the week before the meeting means that if we've got any questions, if we get them the Friday before the meeting, that means we've got 4 days to look at them and get back to you with questions, and there's just not going to be enough time for overturn. If we got them at least a few weeks ahead of time, we could come to some understanding that we would read them at home beforehand, note any that we were going to have issues with, just individually to you, so that if you wanted to get more information ahead of time before the meeting, that way at least we'd have something to work with. Because it normally seems to me that what's going on is we don't have this number, or this number looks weird, or we didn't get this policy. The other thing we can do is maybe ask for some more stuff up front, to change our form a little, to add a little, like, provide your affirmative action policy, provide what you've been doing to, do the hires, so that that's just part of the packet, so there's no questions when we get to that.
So that's for our everyday meetings, or I'm sorry, our monthly meetings, but what about the ones that come in after the fact?
Have we had some that have come in that they just came in late and we had to do it, or are most of these ones that we've called out for more information, but they have to be done in a timely manner, and so we've snookered ourselves?
Well, I was going to defer to just because he works with them a lot. He works with them day to day, on daily. So
I think it is actually a little bit of both. I would say probably fewer recently from the commission. Your questions have been fairly timely, and that we've been able to react to those questions most of the time. There may have been only one, I'm not positive about that the commission slowed it down, and we didn't know that we were going to have a problem. but we had to react to it as soon as we could. The thing that we are working on right now, since I've been helping Carla, is trying to adjust that form, making some changes to that form. It's several years old. The things that we have on the spreadsheet that show the county and the state of Illinois and so forth, the U.S. Census, I should have said, the county and the U.S. Those things we've been able to get some more information for, and that's why that's been updated. So we're also working on the overall EEO application form, and we hope to have that out in the next month. And then we've been having an expectation in our letters, reminders to these companies that have said 30 to 60 days we'd like to have these to come in. We're going to change that to say 45 to 60 days, so that does give you those extra weeks that you're mentioning. And hopefully we can also try and show what's changing from companies that are renewing and what are the issues for companies that are applying for the first time. So all those things we're going to try and track and show what is happening so that you can then react to what you might need for more time and so forth.
And we've already started that process. The system does allow for us to know who's 30, 60, 90 days out. And so we're working to try to get that, and Tom already sends out notifications early now. We did have some discussion about trying to get the applications to you a week early. And one of our questions were, did you receive the packets early enough? And according to Commissioner Resnick, it's probably not enough time. And so we're working to get them to you early. And our question would be, would a week be sufficient? Will that give you enough time to review them, get us questions, and that we would have opportunity to respond to those and react to those and get that additional information?
And Commissioner, you sounded like maybe even more than a week was preferable.
I mean, from my perspective, a little more than a week would be helpful, just because there's a weekend in between, and that always messes things up. And it would also give you all the opportunity to poke us with a reminder email saying, so, any concerns? Which will probably be the day I actually end up reading them, but, at least there's some sort of trigger there.
So I would throw, yes, I'd say 10 days because of that weekend, with the reminder in that initial email of you need responses from us of any concerns within the week, so that you then have time to follow up. Because obviously we don't want to respond on Tuesday, which I would be guilty of, and give you zero time. So a few things that would make it easier for me, and I'm not sure how much of this would be feasible. So you already referenced whether they're new or renewal. That would be very helpful if that was more readily obvious. I'm digging through and I'm like, well, I think they've done business with them before. But
On the bottom of the the first page,
Okay, is
it'll
that-
say if it's a renewal.
except that, okay, so maybe I'm missing that. But I will say that on the first page, most of those on that, okay. I was gonna say on the spreadsheet, okay,
Okay.
maybe I was missing that. I was gonna say on the application themselves, I will say that most of them, I probably only saw 2 today that actually said what their business was. That does not help me if I don't, I mean, if they've got contractors in their name, I can figure that out, but some of the stuff. The other thing that would be really helpful, and this is what I'm not sure you're allowed to say, is if you know there's a contract pending, waiting on this approval, it'd be great to know that part, so that I think would reduce the need for special meetings, so that we would then be prompted to, oh, make sure I review and get Carla or Tom my concerns a week ahead, so that this doesn't delay any contract, because I work in contracts every day. I know that you guys are at the mercy of whatever is being negotiated and whatever information you can get from the company. So I know that you're stuck in the middle, because that's where I am every day, and it's not a fun place to be, because you do your best and hope that everything just falls into place. So, but those were kind of some suggestions I had.
For those that do respond when you ask for more information, what's the turnaround time for them usually? Is it like, if they're gonna answer, it's a day or two, or it takes them a week?
That's been a real case-by-case situation. One we had this time around was Tyler Tech, and they had people on vacation and apparently didn't even realize that they were up for renewal because they have a 7-year contract with us, and they probably took that for granted that they were approved for 7 years, which is not the case, obviously. So I think it's just something that I'll try and track for you to let you know how it's going. One of the things that you've just mentioned, though, is what information are they providing? What can we provide you? I think we can provide you all kinds of information. It's just whether they're supplying it right up front. If there's somebody, sometimes it's filling out these forms, maybe in HR on their end, and they don't know all the questions to answer right away, and they're trying to see if they can get away with leaving it blank sometimes. And so we may be working with our city contacts to see about getting more information up front as well, or as a follow-up call, not just from our office, but from their contact with the city on their contract to see if we can get some more information for the commission. And we'll just try and see if we can dot a few more I's and cross a few more T's as we go forward.
So how many reminders are sent out? Is it just the one?
It's interesting because it's been, it says in the letters when they receive their certificate that they're not going to necessarily receive any reminders. And yet we're trying to now add not only a 30-day reminder, but a 60-day reminder as well, so.
All right. So, and,
So in essence, we're trying to alleviate having the need for special meetings.
yes.
Very much in favor.
I know, we appreciate everyone coming in on those short time frames to make approvals, but it would be helpful if we can streamline it. So, thank you guys for your efforts on making the changes. Okay, so, next on our agenda is officers' report. Carla?
Okay, since we last met, there were 2 cases that were closed. One was a HCV, Housing Choice Voucher, with no probable cause determination, and 1 criminal record, no probable cause determination. There were no informal complaints, and those are when someone calls and they are complaining about something that is either out of our purview, out of our jurisdiction, or just seeking information, because with the office is human relations, so I get all human questions. And so I just refer them on to the different entities that I know about. If there's an organization that I know about that could help them, I just refer them on. But we didn't have any of those this time. The office is responding to 2 FOIA requests currently. We still have 2 cases open. One is disability accommodation for housing, and one is retaliation employment. And we're still in the process of receiving the documentation back and forth between the respondent and the complainant. The appeals hearing that was scheduled for Tuesday, August 30th was canceled. The complainant withdrew the appeals. And as far as office and community activity, the Office of Human Rights and Equity, we are sponsoring the Disability Expo on Saturday, October 22, at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Marketplace Mall. And you're invited to please attend that if possible. I do have flyers with that information. And we're also sponsoring the International Services of Champaign-Urbana's Welcoming Week Immigration Awards reception. And that's this Saturday at 12:30 p.m. at the Urbana Free Library. And I checked, and they said that any of the commissioners who would like to attend, please do so. They would love to have you. And then there'll be a light reception afterwards, after the awards. I wanted to remind everyone about completing the steps to get your Urbana Board and Commission email addresses, because those are the ones we're going to be using for communication. Has everybody completed that process? There's an email, you would have received an email from Sanford Hess, the IT director, and he, with directions and explanations and how to do things to get that taken care of. And
It's basically using the city's webmail to get.
And Mr. Hess is extremely responsive when you can't figure something.
yeah, he is. I'm participating in the MLK Advocacy for Justice Committee. That's the planning committee for the Martin Luther King celebration events. We have a meeting, I believe, next week, next Friday. And then planning to attend the Friday Forum at the Y, that's the University YMCA, on Friday, this Friday at noon. I believe it's a part of the Welcome Center activities for the Welcoming Week. And as Tom has already mentioned, we've been updating forms and processes in the office to help staff be more efficient with materials for meetings. And that's all that I have. Yes, sir.
I know that there is a case that is potentially coming forward for a full hearing. What is the status of that? Do we have any idea of timing yet?
We are hoping to have that done by October 12th. I mean, it's October 12th, or at least scheduled by October 12th. That's our date.
Next meet.
Or that's our date of that we must have it scheduled. Last Thursday, I believe, last Thursday, I was able to identify a hearing officer for that, and so I reached out to him he reached out to me on Friday, I reached out to him on Monday, and he's now checking to make sure he doesn't have a conflict of interest with any of the interested parties. And then after he responds to me with either I have a conflict or I don't have a conflict, then we're going to look at his schedule a time, and then start moving quickly with notifying all the parties and trying to get everybody at the meeting.
I would ask that if it's going to be a hearing that's going to be scheduled after our next, so October 12th is our regularly scheduled monthly meeting. Are you thinking we're going to do the hearing at the same time, or?
We have to get it scheduled by then.
Okay. Once scheduled, I think it would be great if he could meet up at the public meeting with the commission to discuss both logistics and sort of our expectations and his or her expectations.
My belief is once he lets me know that he is no conflict of interest, if there isn't any conflict of interest, then I will refer him to Stacy, and then you guys will work together and to get a date together. I won't be doing that.
Right.
We'll just be doing the legwork, but you guys will do that, and that they're going to take into consideration, when your availability, and also the respondent's availability and the complainant's availability.
Sounds good.
And the city's availability.
So I do have a question. Is that a full commission hearing then? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to announcements.
Did you want to mention that we've got to get our act together?
Yes, I guess that might be unfinished business more than anything. So the process for the complaints under, I can't remember the section now, and I'm sorry, it's been a minute. Pete and I need to still finalize the latest draft, and then we will present it to the commission for review and discussion.
Do you want that to be next month or
I think you
November, or-
better, so that I have a timeline,
I-
a deadline.
I think we should get together, at least we'll communicate this week, get the commission comments from last meeting into the draft, get it done, and I would suggest we not only put approval of the procedures on the agenda for next month, but at least getting started on, do we have three
We have some
now?
pending.
We have some pending reports that we have to deal with. Let's get the reports on the agenda so that if we've got time, we can at least start getting through them and
Yes.
figure out what, I expect for each of the reports, it's going to be, first step, assign someone to go talk to, the city official who's involved.
Right.
Or talk to the person who brought the report, or whatever it is. So let's get both of those on the agenda.
Yes, agreed.
Right. Are there any other announcements? All right, with this, none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.